Okay, we are live.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. I'd like to call to order the Friday, November 14th Pinelands Commission meeting. Jay, can you please read the Open Public Meetings Act statement?
Yes, good morning. Adequate notice of this meeting of the Pinelands Commission was given in compliance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act by providing notice to all municipal and county clerks within the Pinelands area and to the Secretary of State on December 20, 2024, and to the Commission's officially designated newspapers on December 20, 2024, and by posting a copy on the Commission's website.
Thank you. And Sue, will you please call roll?
Commissioner Celta,
Here.
Commissioner Avery,
Here.
Commissioner Busby Cope. Do we know you're doing later? No. Commissioner Irish, Commissioner Letman, Commissioner Lobauer,
Here.
Commissioner Mitro,
Here.
Commissioner Moriello,
Here.
Commissioner Meade, Commissioner
Here.
Commissioner Riddler Sanchez, present. Commissioner Ziegler
Here.
and Commissioner Wallner,
Here.
Commissioner Montos. Okay. All right. 10.
Lovely. All right, if you are able, please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the
And
flag
the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, can I please get a motion and a second to adopt the minutes from our October 10th meeting?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right. Moving on to reports, we're gonna start with me. Policy and Implementation Committee. Which was held on October 31st. Oh yeah. The committee approved the minutes of the September 26, 2025 meeting. And then staff provided a summary and reviewed evaluation criteria of the Pinelands Conservation Fund 2025 land acquisition project proposals. One application was received from the New Jersey Conservation Foundation. Committee met in closed session and reviewed project specifics and the requested funding allocation. Committee members approved the award of $3 million in available funding to the New Jersey Conservation Foundation for land acquisition in the Medford-Evesham Priority Acquisition Area in Burlington County. Committee then discussed a draft CMP amendment for the quote-unquote gap application and approval process. This amendment would address private development applications that receive no municipal or county approvals or permits. Staff noted that a more formal rule proposal is planned for 2026. Any questions or comments? All right, Sue.
All right. I have good news. I think mostly everything I'm reporting will be good. A little update on the Fenwick Manor rehabilitation project. Mark, our archaeologist, and our consultants have been working closely together. They've done several site visits and they have submitted the final design documents. And they're today, I believe, submitting those to the Historic Trust as well. That was like the final pre-construction thing we were waiting for to have all the designs in hand. We've received in our bank account the extra $69,000 in appropriation from the state for the Fenwick Manor project that came in yesterday. And our next step is to prepare an RFP for construction services that'll go to the 4 pre-qualified firms. That'll be the next thing we're working on. The real good news, though, is they've confirmed, our consultants have confirmed that they will not need to take down any of the chimneys and rebuild them. They have another solution for the issues that are happening, and that's just huge because that was just going to be very, very time consuming, expensive. They have cautioned that it's still going to be, I think they're wording to it, we're a messy project, so that's okay, we can handle that. I'm just glad that the chimneys are gonna remain, so good news there. We, in addition to the $69,000 in funding for Fenwick, we also received yesterday the $95,000 in supplemental salary funding that had been confirmed by the governor's office through their help with OMB. That's money to fund the salary increases that are called for in our contracts with the union. So that was pretty key in making sure that that funding arrived. So that came yesterday at the same time as the 59,000. So it was a really fun day yesterday. We were very happy.
I love her ticket.
Yeah. Let's see, I think you had asked Alan at a previous meeting about funding remaining for land acquisition under the limited practical use program.
I did.
You did. So Gina contacted our friends at DEP to ask about the status of those monies. And so the bad news is all the limited practical use money is gone. It's all been spent. The good news is that there is still money available and still coming in, as a result of the Pinelands license plates that are out there. I hope you all either own or have seen driving around. So they let us know that there's the balance in that account is just over $750,000 right now.
Wow.
About $4,000 to $6,000 a month in revenue from the license plate fund. They haven't spent any of it since 2021, maybe. But
Oh.
those funds are to be used for they can use them for limited practical use acquisitions, but they can use them more broadly for Pinelands preservation, so other Pinelands land acquisition. There is that money available. I don't know that they have a specific plan for it, but it's good to know that
Mm.
it is there and it is being, they're replenished each year.
Can only be used for land acquisition.
I believe that's it. So, that was good. And then, you were welcome, and then, two retirements, staff retirements I wanted to announce. I don't normally do this, but in this case, we have two staff members who've been here for decades, and they are both retiring. Kim Leidig, one of our principal research scientists, has been here since, let me get this right, I wrote this down, 1993. So over 32 years. He's retiring December 1st. And also Terry Milanic, who all of you have probably interacted with numerous times, our receptionist.
Yep.
She was hired in September of 1988.
Wow.
Here just over 37 years, and she'll be retiring effective January 1st. So I wanted you all to know that so that you can wish her well on your way out, in case you're not gonna be here in December, or just, take a moment to say goodbye. And she's done a little bit of everything here over the decades, and I think this was a tough decision for her, but we're happy for her, and have a little party for her in December, so good news. That's it.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Sue? Great, Jean.
Jumping right in, it's a time of year when reporting starts to happen for the National Park Service, so we're working on that, getting ready to submit that in December. Waiver expiration notice letters went out for the rule adoption that happened in October, so those owners of lands that received waivers of strict compliance before 1992 will have a year to act on them if they haven't already. Otherwise, they will expire. So they were notified. In October, we kicked off work on developing and modernizing the application information system. So to help regulatory programs with managing applications, there's a system, there's a computer application, if you will. And it's old and it's clunky and it doesn't do what it needs to do. both for staff and for the public. So we kicked off a multi-year project. Everyone is excited about it, at least on staff, and soon public will be too. Other work that's going on around that staff is participating in. Rutgers asked for our participation in their development of a watershed stressor evaluation tool. The Delaware River Basin Commission has initiated creating a climate resiliency plan for the basin and requested input on issues for the Delaware Basin. Let's see, Barnegat Bay watershed. There are 2 watershed restoration plans that are nearing completion. So we will be reviewing those and providing input. That's all I'm gonna say about that. I will mention that the agenda for the Policy and Implementation Committee next week will include presentations from DEP on the science, current science around artificial turf impacts and how Green Acres reviews projects for funding that propose artificial turf. And we'll be talking about accessible trail standards for the first time with the committee. That's it.
Awesome, thank you. Any questions or comments for Gina?
Gina, can you tell me which 2 watersheds that are in
It is the Cedar Creek CFO, Cedar Orchid Oyster watershed, and the other one is escaping my mind at the moment. The one south of there, sorry.
Mill Creek?
No. That's,
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Even.
okay, I
I
don't know.
don't see.
Any other questions for Gina? Thanks, Gina. April.
Good morning, everyone. Just wanted to update you on a few items referenced in our management report. One of these we spoke about at previous commission meetings. This is involving a communication tower proposed in Manchester Township. It's proposed on property owned by the Manchester Township Police Department. In addition to the tower, they originally were proposing road improvements, driveway and parking lot improvements. The site has significant threatened endangered species concerns. And because of that, we recommended a 2-season drip fence survey for snakes. In an effort to address public safety concerns and get the communication tower up and running, we offered the township an alternative approach where they could amend the application to limit it to only the tower and the limited clearing envelope around the tower. And in turn, they could do a modified 1-season survey. They opted to take that approach for now. The plan is they'll come back later to the commission for the remainder of the development, but they just want to get the tower up and running for now. So we've gone back and forth with them, ensuring that the clearing is limited to only that necessary for a modified 1-season survey. And they have completed that, submitted a revised plan to us, and that application is now complete and up for public comment at today's meeting. Another thing I wanted to mention is some of you may be familiar, the Winzinger resource extraction application in Woodland Township. This was an application where the commission previously denied a proposed resource extraction facility on the site back in 2013 due to threatened endangered species concerns. The applicants back into us proposing a conservation plan in an effort to address their endangered species concerns. They've done an additional 2-season drip and survey for snakes on the property, and the results of that survey are into us and they're currently under review. And then I just wanted to mention 2 meetings we had this month that were particularly interesting. One, we met with Woodland Township officials on October 21st. We met with the mayor and other representatives of Woodland Township. There were a multitude of concerns addressed by the township. One was a potential application to provide a well to the Chatsworth Fire Company to allow for forest firefighting purposes. And then the other was they're interested in establishing an indoor cannabis grow facility on Route 72, kind of near Lisbon Development Center in that sort of area. And then the other is addressing particular groundwater quality issues with a commercial I think it's like an auto body facility in that same general area. So we met with them, discussed those projects and offered some guidance on those projects. The other meeting of note is we met with Pinelands Preservation Alliance this month regarding a new facility they recently purchased, a 162-acre Boy Scout camp in Tabernacle Township named the Pine Tree Education and Environmental Center. That camp was a Boy Scout camp, and that use is proposed to continue. But in addition to that, PPA is proposing to use the camp for research and teaching purposes. So our staff met with them on October 29th to discuss the proposed use. We indicated to them that the proposed education center would be considered a change of use and would require application to the commission, and that it did raise potential concerns with regard to whether or not the use was permitted because the camp's in a preservation area. So we advised PPA to go to Tabernacle Township and discuss the proposed facility with them to see whether Tabernacle Township considered the uses permitted in their preservation zoning district. And that's all I had.
Thanks, April. Any questions or comments for April?
April, could you just remind me what management area, Windsor application was?
Oh, that's also.
That is preservation, yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, thanks, April. Stacy, you're.
I want to thank everybody for getting their ethics training done. We are completely in compliance with the EO, and you will not have to do that again until next year. I also, for those of you who didn't watch the oral argument for the Clayton Sands challenge to the KC rules was on October 29th. Jay did an excellent job in terms of representing the commission's interests and responding to the questions posed by the board. And I hoped we would have a decision by today because the board has been fairly quick at turning those decisions out lately. Unfortunately, we have not received the decision as of yet, but I'm hoping we'll have it before the end of the year. That's it for me.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Stacy?
Not a comment, I just want to echo Stacy's compliment to Jay Stupinski, having watched that argument was concise, clear. I can't say the same for his adversaries. So, well done, Jay.
Thank you all very much.
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, Brad.
Morning, just want to share staff continues to participate on the Interagency Council for Climate Resiliency. The council has been eagerly trying to wrap up a bunch of publications that they've been working on in recent months before the end of the year. To that end, we submitted some commission highlights from this past year for the IAC's annual report. That included the redesignation of Black Run, as well as the $3 million awarded for land acquisition, which was previously mentioned earlier. The council and its various work groups are sort of in a process of sort of coming up with new priorities for the next year. We have been participating on the vulnerability assessment work group, so we've shared our thoughts on, maybe prioritizing some additional sort of focus on regional based assessment sort of standards and guidance that might align more with our role here at the commission. So we will continue to update that as that changes in the new year. Additionally, I just wanted to mention that the commission continues to receive a good amount of municipal ordinances related to the regulation and development of cannabis businesses. So far this year, we've reviewed 11, and we have about another handful still under review. We've definitely observed that these types of ordinances and subsequent development applications have been generating some local concerns. So a lot of what we are seeing is ordinances that are tinkering with various aspects of where these uses are being permitted, maybe the conditions under which they're permitted, standards around odor and security and such. Importantly, I just want to note that, these are uses that are, it's really under the individual municipalities' option to permit, so long as that they are consistent with the CMP. So, as we've certainly been fielding calls from local citizens and planning board members and such, and we do our best to give them the guidance about what is permitted under the CMP, but ultimately it's sort of the township decision to permit these uses. Lastly, I just wanted to mention that we had a productive meeting with representatives from Waterford Township last month. They are looking to amend provisions of their Haynes Boulevard redevelopment plan, which is located in a regional growth area. They have identified that as a site suitable for affordable housing that is called for in their plan. So we provided guidance in terms of our process, and we continue to work with them as they sort of work with their prospective redevelopers on updated site plans.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments for Brad? All right, Paul.
All right, good morning. I have 4 items to discuss today. As you know, and it's reported in more length in our monthly report, we had our annual World Water Monitoring Challenge on October 24th. At that time, our staff worked with DEP and Jacques Cousteau Research Reserve to educate 150 students about the Pinelands at Batstow Lake. But it was a very successful event, very smooth. Secondly, our 2026 wall calendar has gone to print. It's printing literally as we speak. It has a water theme. I think it's our most informative and most beautiful one yet. This is our 10th edition, and we are printing 1,188 copies. And we will have those in hand by the end of the month, if not early December, and I'll provide them to members of the public and commissioners and staff. Thirdly, this was also noted in the monthly report. We have been working on new merchandise to raise funds for our Katie Fund for planting native vegetation. We've received one of those items, and the second one is also literally printing as we speak. And I'm excited to show them to you. And in fact, next month, when I unveil the calendar, we'll have a little bit of a show and tell with those items as well. And lastly, you may have noticed on your way in that we have planted new species here. And I'm going to screen share this. Let's see. So this is our maintenance technician, John Keys. We planted 5 5-gallon high bush blueberries on the other side of this wall. And we also planted 32 tubelings of bearberry. That's right here. Bearberry is a native subshrub that is highly rhizomatous and produces white to pink flowers that turn into berries that are beloved by birds, small mammals, and as the name implies, bears. It's going to fill in that area and provide good food source and habitat for various insects. And I'm really excited about that. And then this beauty on the right, this Charlie Brown-esque thing, is a pitch pine. Not easy to find these in commercial settings anyway. That's a 2-gallon pitch pine. All of these plants were donated by Pinelands Nursery of Columbus, New Jersey, outside of the Pinelands. And to complement them, we have I've been working with DEP on signage. And I'm going to pass these around. Too. If you've been to the parks and forests in the Pinelands or elsewhere in the state over the past year, you may have noticed these beautiful signs. So I reached out to Rob Allermiller of the State Park Service to congratulate them on these wonderful signs and then to ask if we can use them here. And they said, yes, sure. And so we worked on the sign, they added our logo, and the arrangement is that we paid for the printing of our signs and we identified which ones we want. And then, so we have them professionally printed at Paneer Graphics. And we have 16 total signs. I was able to negotiate two additional signs from the vendor at no additional cost. And we've started to install them. We have the frames already. We have 30 frames. We have 16 signs. We're going to have another round of signs as well. And here's John Keys installing the high bush blueberry on the other side over there. Here's more. We're really excited about these because we feel this can complement what we have here as far as the visitation experience, educational. My plan is to create either a brochure, but more likely a scavenger hunt, which we have also for kids who come to visit for field trips, where they have a worksheet and they have to learn information and find things, and somehow it gets in their head and now they know stuff. So that's what's exciting about these as well. And so I really think this is a good example of interagency cooperation with DEP. They were very helpful on this, and there are people at Parks and Forestry in doing this. Keep in mind, they did all the work. You know, they wrote these, they designed these, and the illustrator is fantastic. And she reached out to me because they are producing 2 new signs, American Sycamore, among other things, but 2 of them we want. One's the American Sycamore, which of course is the massive tree over here, which is over 100 years old. And then also pawpaws, which we have, pawpaws on our grounds, which by the way are a threatened species, native to New Jersey. And she knows that we have them. So I sent her photographs of pawpaw flowers, fruit, you know, branches, leaves, and that was used in her illustrations. So as a basis, and then I reviewed them, and she's done a wonderful job. So that's basically my report.
Really, really wonderful. These signs, it's just awesome. Beautiful illustrations, very, very cool. Anyone else have any questions or comments?
Paul, is this sign printing thing available for municipalities or anything?
I don't know the answer to that. You'd have to ask DEP. This was just a one-time use for us for this, so I don't know.
You gotta call and compliment them then.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Could you send me contact information?
Sure, it's just Rob Allermiller or their other, I went to the top because, you know, there's a whole bunch of other people under that who are involved directly, our counterparts in education and outreach at DEP, who we worked with on other things in the past, really helped us with this. You know, they knew the process inside out, and even the vendor who we've worked with, it's very smooth.
These are great for interpretive.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Which we're building, right?
We also swapped out the Ed Lloyd Memorial sign, which had faded already because it was made by a different vendor. These signs last 15 to 20 years, and we have backups for each, so we'll go for 40 years.
Wow.
And you know, we mentioned Ken Ladig earlier. I want to thank him for so many things over the years, including on this. And then I met with him yesterday about native plant lists and other things. And he was very helpful on this project because we did an inventory on site. We have plants here. I have no idea what they are. They're from all over the world, some of them. Some may have been planted by Elizabeth White. So you know, we're not only showcasing native plants, some of these signs, which I didn't show you, are from different things that were planted here that DP just happened to have signs for. So that will help in knowing exactly what they are. And for people to say, oh, I see, you have a mulberry. Why is that here? And it describes why that might be here in New Jersey. So.
Very cool. Any other questions or comments for Paul? Yeah, go ahead.
That's wonderful, absolutely. I like the standardization and that'll be good. And I'd like to challenge commissioners to maybe doing a scavenger hunt.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll have a child. We usually have an adult. Yeah. For the exhibits, we have an adult and a child version, and the adult version is hard.
Well, maybe we should
Yeah.
start, maybe we
Yeah.
should start with the child.
Yes. Any other questions or comments for Paul?
Wonderful work, Paul. Really great. And I'm thrilled that we finally have high bush blueberry bushes here at Elizabeth White's home. I'm sure she'd be very proud. So thank you so much for that.
Thanks.
All right, moving on. Can I get a motion and a second for there's one application, Lenape Regional High School District installation of artificial turf at Shawnee High School. Can I get a motion and a second?
Move it.
A second?
Yes.
Definitely.
All right, Ernie, can you give us some speed here, please?
Good morning, Paul's bringing up a quick aerial photograph of the site.
This is the one, right? This is
Yes.
The yes.
Good.
Yeah.
So the application is for the installation of artificial turf, approximately 13,744 square feet at the Shawnee High School. The existing football field is already an artificial turf field. The 13,000 feet will encompass both the north and south sections of the football field that are currently beyond the end zones. These are areas used for track and field in the spring. And that's everything for this application.
All right, any questions for Ernie? All right, all in favor? Abstentions? Thank you.
Yes. Oh, that's all right, that's all right. I was just looking, I'm not, as usual, I'm less than pleased with any installation of artificial turf, but in this case, they've already got a field and they've got it's diminishment.
All right, you're a yes vote?
Oh, yes.
Okay, thank you.
This one is.
All right.
I'll abstain as well.
She didn't abstain, she had a comment that she missed the window. Are you saying you're abstaining, Doug?
Yes.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yep.
I missed the opportunity to make a comment. I did vote yes on this, but I wanted to emphasize for us that in the executive director's report on this application, it was pointed out to us that there is no standard for construction materials for the Pinelands Commission to review. And for that reason, there was no basis for us to question what science is telling us is a real concern about artificial turf. And so I just wanted to point out to you and to our colleagues that we really need to catch up to what the science is revealing now about artificial turf. And I would consider it very important in the coming months that we examine that science, see whether or not we agree that artificial turf could in fact pose a danger to the purity of our underground water supply in the Pinelands, and consider whether or not we should amend the CMP to allow us to restrict the development of artificial turf fields in the Pinelands. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I look forward to everyone's active participation at next week's Policy and Implementation Committee meeting, where we will have scientists from DEP talking about this very topic that has been a hot one. And we can have some more discussion on this broadly next week. So thank you. Can I get a motion and a second on an application for Monroe Township demolition of the senior center building?
I'll move it.
Also.
All right, thank you, Ernie.
Thank you. Paul's bringing up another aerial photograph.
You want me to zoom out or?
No, that's perfectly fine.
Okay.
This application, as you mentioned, is from Monroe Township. They're proposing the demolition. Proposing the demolition of an existing senior center building. That structure was demolished prior to completion of an application. So they're including in this application to resolve that violation. In addition, they're proposing a playground and 2 new basketball courts. Unfortunately, the 2 basketball courts were already also developed without application to the commission. You can see those 2 basketball courts, they're located to the north of the 2 that are legally existing. The playground will be located just to the north and west of the basketball court shown here. In addition, the applicant constructed a small stone parking lot that, although it doesn't show up in this aerial, it's located to the northeast of the northern basketball courts. They will be removing that to resolve that violation.
Any questions or comments on this for Ernie? All right, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Great, thank you. Next up, we have public comment period on a number of applications. More stuff at Shawnee and a few others. Ernie, do you, while Paul puts the calling information up, do you want to run these real quick, please?
Yes, if I can remember them properly.
You don't have yours done?
I don't have it again.
Okay. Well, I can just read them.
Oh, that's okay. So as you mentioned, Shawnee High School is proposing a 2,500 square foot maintenance building. As April mentioned earlier, Manchester Township is proposing the construction of a telecommunications tower. In Estelle Manor City, they're proposing to pave approximately 1,800 linear feet of the existing dirt road. And we have a renewal waiver for single family dwelling in Egg Harbor Township.
Thank you. Anyone in the room for public comment on these? Paul, anybody on the phone?
No one on the phone.
All right, I'll give it one more second, but. All right, still no one?
No callers.
All right, I will shut down public comments period and remind folks that if you did want to, there's another public comment period at the end of the meeting. Next up, Brad can give us an overview of some municipal ordinances and other items that do not require our action today.
Yes, memo was included in the packet for the meeting today. Land Use Programs Office reviewed 11 ordinances and 1 master plan reexamination report. Last month that were found to raise no substantial issues with respect to the CMP. Most of those ordinances were fairly minor. I just wanted to note that there were a number of Pemberton ordinances that were included in the memo. We had been working with Pemberton for a few years on resolving some issues with ordinances that were adopted in the 2001 or 2021, 22. These were related to cannabis, so a good example of how we've been working with municipalities to ensure that where they are permitting cannabis is consistent with the CMP. Also notable, they were kind of splitting up an existing regional growth area commercial zone and splitting it into new zones. And just for the commission's awareness, it's not always so simple to just create a new zone. It often entails having to look sort of ensure that, you know, all of the little pieces and all of the parts of the zoning code are appropriately cross-referencing those zones. Something that, again, really takes a lot of guidance from our staff in the Land Use Programs Office to make sure everything's sort of teed up. So there's no issues when the application comes in and there's questions about whether PDCs apply to the zone, the new zone or other CMP related standards. So anyway, take any questions.
Thanks, Brad. Any questions? Comments? Yeah,
I
Jessica.
just wanted, could you tell me what GC and GCL1 and GCL2 and 3 are, what that means?
So there was an existing GCLI zone, which stood for General Commercial Light Industrial. And that zone spans an agricultural production area and a regional growth area. we have found through practice that we generally discourage, based on our experience, including zones that span multiple management areas. It just really creates a lot of headaches. So we were quite pleased that the township was taking this direction. And they were largely re-looking at those zones because they also have a GCLI zone outside the Pinelands area. And they were trying to reevaluate where warehouses were to be permitted and different types. So that's why they kind of split it into these. So
I'm glad there wasn't golf with.
Any other questions or comments for Brad? All right, thank you, Brad. Next up, we have a presentation by Claire and Gina, What is it? Claire.
I'll support Claire and.
Okay, there you go. Claire's the star of the show. Presentation on the implementation of the Ultimate Design Wastewater Systems Pilot Program.
Gonna move out of the way. Come on, Bill.
Oh, you wanna go there?
Yes, we'll talk about it. Yeah. Let me know if it's not crossed.
I didn't.
You are gonna see.
I am gonna preface this, I just wanna recognize that Claire started with the commission, early this year.
Yeah.
And so this is a big, long-term pilot program, you know, Ed Wengrowski, who you all may know or remember. Led this pilot program for a long time. So, you know, this is a big lift for somebody who's new to the commission and that's why I say I'll support her in any way I can. But I think you'll see she's done a good job of summarizing where the pilot program is. So, wait there.
Good morning, commissioners. I'm Claire, I'm a resource planner here at the commission, and today I will be presenting the implementation report on the Alternate Design Septic Systems Pilot Program. So the CMP requires periodic reporting on the pilot program, which is why we're doing this presentation. The last time the implementation report was issued was in 2019, and since then we have added new technologies to the pilot program. And so this presentation will be mainly focused on the technologies that are currently participating in the pilot program. So this is just the presentation overview. Today, we'll be talking about a very brief introduction to the pilot program, the technologies in the pilot program, and the evaluation of the various pilot technologies based on the criteria in the CMP. And we'll also be providing recommendations, some updates, and next steps. So water is one of the most important resources in the Pinelands that is protected by a combination of water quality programs and land use programs. A very important aspect of the water quality program aims at controlling the amounts of nitrogen that enters the environment, because nitrogen is a significant pollutant. It causes eutrophication, which can reduce biodiversity and also stress out ecosystems. So to this end, the CMP limits the amount of nitrogen, specifically nitrate nitrogen, at the property line to 2 ppm. So based on the septic dilution model, a residential development, specifically a single family dwelling, will need to be located on a 3.2 acre parcel in order for the nitrogen to be diluted to meet that 2 ppm standard. Now, under certain circumstances in the CMP, it allows for residential development on parcels that are smaller than the 3.2 acres. And so a single family dwelling using a standard septic system will not be able to meet that 2 ppm standard. And so in 2000, an ad hoc septic system committee was formed to research alternative technologies that would better meet the Pinelands water quality standards. And so the pilot program was developed as a means to test whether certain treatment technologies will be able to operate in a way that meets the Pinelands water quality standards and with reasonable maintenance that a homeowner can follow. And the pilot program is only for residential systems on lots that are smaller than 3.2 acres. So before we dive into the details of the technologies currently participating in the pilot program, I wanted to provide a brief summary of the technologies that have previously participated in the pilot program. And so here we just have a table of the various technologies, the status, the reason behind the status, and the minimum process sizes that they're approved on. So we have Amphidrome, BioClear, and Septitech, which have graduated from the pilot program because they met the Pinelands water quality standards. So we also have FAST, which has been approved for use on 1.4 acre parcels, and is also graduated from the pilot program. So when we say that a technology has graduated from the pilot program, it basically means that the sampling protocol that is required for each installed system is no longer necessary. And the CMP has been amended to approve the use of that technology in the Pinelands on an ongoing basis. We also have technologies that have been removed from the pilot program. So we have actual RFS, we also have OCGT because they were not able to sell any systems in the Pinelands, so we weren't able to evaluate them. We also have BioBarrier and ChromaGlass, which were removed from the pilot program because they failed to meet the Pinelands water quality standards. So currently we have 5 technologies in the pilot program. And all of these technologies have been received permit from the DEP for their use in the Pinelands. And participation in the pilot program is limited to technologies that have the EPA ETV or the NSF ANSI 245 certification because they have requirements for nitrogen reduction, which is what we're looking for. So all of these technologies have that certifications. And based on the pre-screening process and the septic dilution model, it was concluded that FujiClean Foods water loop biofilter will be able to meet the Pinelands water quality standards on 1 acre parcels. We also have Fuga Systems, which is expected to meet the water quality standards on 1.26 acre parcels. And then we have the last one, which is UC MFB 400, which is expected to meet the water quality standards on 1 acre parcels. Now, UC was initially removed from the pilot program in 2020, but they applied for readmission, and so they're included in the pilot program at this time. As I mentioned earlier, we'll be going through the evaluation criteria from the CMP and how each one applies to the various technologies. So there are 6 criteria. We are the level of nitrogen in the effluent from each pilot treatment technology, the maintenance required for each technology, the cost of each technology, the problems with the installation, operation, and maintenance of each technology, the number of systems that have been installed for each technology, and looking at the pilot program as a whole, whether that has served to further the purposes of the Pinelands Protection Act, the Federal Act, and the CMP. So first criteria is the level of nitrogen in the effluent for each pilot program technology. Now in this table, we have the various technologies, the number of systems that have conducted sampling, the total number of samples that have been collected, the median of the total nitrogen results, and the minimum parcel size based on the pre-screening process I talked about. So for Hoot, they have 3 systems that have been sampled from, and the number of samples that have been collected so far is 34. So for 2 of their systems, they have completed the 3-year quarterly sampling, and so they each have at least 12 samples collected. And then the median of the total nitrogen results is currently 8.9 ppm. For FujiClean, they have 7 systems that have been sampled from. The total number of samples that have been collected so far is 34. And none of the systems have completed the quarterly sampling. They're still in the process of getting there. And the median of the total nitrogen is currently 10.8 ppm. So for 1 acre parcels, we the total nitrogen target that we have for that is 14 ppm. So we typically want the total nitrogen to be less than or equal to 14 ppm. So as you can see, the results for foods and food clean are less than this 14 ppm, which is required for the 1 acre parcels. So the results here look very good and is very promising. The only thing is that we do not have a lot of data that has been collected. For Puka systems, Uzi and Waterloo biofilter, they have not installed any systems in the Pinelands so far, and so we do not have any performance data for them at this time.
Would you like me to?
Yes.
Yeah, someone's trying to get in.
And then the second criteria is the maintenance that is required. So as part of the purpose of the pilot program, we do want to make sure that the maintenance required is not too extensive or complicated for the homeowner to follow. And typically, a homeowner is given an operational maintenance manual that outlines the procedures that they have to follow to maintain the system and keep it functioning properly. So for foods, that includes maintaining a chlorine residual of at least 1 ppm, and that is achieved by adding chlorine tablets that are designed for wastewater use to the system. And for food systems, intermittent use is not recommended, and pump outs of sludge is needed about every 2 to 4 years. For food to clean, sludge is to be removed about every 2 years, and it can also accommodate variable and intermittent use. So for these two technologies, similar to standard septic systems, the homeowners are advised to avoid using materials or chemicals that will interfere with the microorganisms, like extensive use of bleach or herbicides or antibiotics, stuff like that. So at this time, the maintenance required for these two technologies are similar to the other advanced treatment systems. And so that also looks good at this time. But we also need more time for implementation.
I think the layer gets changed. So now,
So the third criteria is the cost of installing and maintaining the systems. So here we have two figures. The first one is the average system cost of the graduated technologies. This is really just added for information and comparison reasons because we are not evaluating these technologies at this time. They have already been evaluated. So as you can see in the first figure, the cost of the technologies, they start at a higher price, but they have reduced over time. And over time, the difference between the cost of the technologies have not been so significantly different, except for FAST, which is the most affordable one and is relatively less costly than the rest of the technologies. Now, on the right, we have these the system cost and the total cost for the two pilot technologies that we have data on. So that is foods and food clean. And in the graph, there is some difference in the cost between the two technologies, but when compared to the graduated technologies, the cost of foods is similar to the cost of FAST, and the cost of food clean is similar to the current cost of the graduated technology. So that is also good. They are not so significantly different from what we currently have in the Pinelands.
is it still on? Sorry, just checking.
And then for the next criteria, we are looking at the problems with installation, any problems with operation and maintenance. So for food, they started installations in 2020, and they have had 2 issues so far. So for one of the systems, a critical component was missing, which affected the development of the necessary microbes. So who was able to replace that component, and based on the water quality data that we have, it shows that the system is functioning properly. They also had another issue at a different site where there was an issue with the recirculation valves. They were also able to fix that issue, and this seems to be functioning properly now. And for food and clean, they haven't reported any installation issues or alarm events. But they did discover paint in one of the tanks, which can really be attributed to the system, is most likely from the homeowner. So they haven't had any issues as of yet, or at least there hasn't been any recorded issues. So this also is a good thing in general when it comes to our evaluation, but like I said, we still need more time to see whether they can keep this consistent results. So our next criteria is the total number of installations for each technology under the pilot program. So here we have the various technologies and the number of installations. So number of installations here refers to the systems that have been installed and have obtained a final approval from the commission to receive a certificate of compliance from the county health department. So any system that is still going through that process is not really included here. So Boozy has 0 systems installed, Foodie Clean has 13, Foods has 4 systems installed, Google Systems and Waterloo Biofilter have 0 systems installed. So in total, there are 17 installed systems representing the pilot technologies. So also included the installations of the previously piloted technologies for information purposes. So here we have Amphidrone, which has graduated from the pilot program, and it has 126 installations. Ashko Arifest was removed from the pilot program, 0 installations. BioBarrier was removed from the pilot program, and it had 13 installed systems prior to its removal. We have BioClear, which has 89 systems installed. It's a graduated technology. We also have Chroma Glass, which was removed from the pilot program. And prior to its removal, it had 59 systems installed. Then there's FAST, which has graduated from the pilot program, and it has 45 systems installed. Then we have Septitech, which has the highest installations. At 148, it has also graduated from the pilot program. So the total number of installations, and that includes the pilot phase, previously piloted technologies, is 497 as of June of this year. So here we just have a distribution of all 497 alternate septic systems by county and Pinelands management area. So on the right, we have the distribution of the installed systems by Pinelands management area. As you can see, the regional growth area has the highest percentage of installations, and the agricultural production area and the preservation area district have the lowest percentage of installations. So the regional growth area is the area that is designated for growth and development, and it typically has smaller lot sizes. And so there's just a bigger need for the use of alternate septic systems. Now, the agricultural production area and the preservation area district are ecologically sensitive areas in the Pinelands, and residential development is typically limited there. Plus, the parcel sizes that are required for residential development is typically larger, so there isn't really a large need for the use of alternate septic systems. So this chart here really is the reflection of the residential development in growth-oriented versus ecologically sensitive areas in the Pinelands. On the left, we have the distribution of installations by counties. So Ocean County and Burlington County have the highest percentage of installations, and Gloucester County and Cape County have lowest percentage of installations. So Ocean and Burlington counties have larger areas in the Pinelands. They also have larger regional growth areas. Gloucester County and Cape County have smaller areas in the Pinelands, and they also have smaller regional growth areas. So they're just using, I guess, there's not as much of a need for the alternate septic systems here. So the last criteria is looking at the pilot program as a whole and whether that has furthered the purposes of the Pinelands Protection Act, the Federal Act, and the CMP. So the pilot program has allowed the commission to be able to test advanced on-site wastewater treatment systems and for their ability to reduce nitrogen to the levels required by the CMP. And the graduated technologies have demonstrated their efficiency in removing nitrogen. And the pilot program has allowed unsewered areas zoned for lots smaller than 3.2 acres to be able to meet the water quality standards. And it has also allowed for residential development at appropriate and permitted densities. The pilot program has played an important role in the protection of water resources and therefore the ecosystems of the Pinelands, which advances the purposes of the CMP, the Federal Act, and the Pinelands Protection Act. So, based on the evaluation that we have gone through, we have some recommendations. So first, we recommend that both routes and project may remain in the pilot program. And our reason for this recommendation is that currently their performance data look very promising. And they haven't had a lot of issues with operation and maintenance. So we want them to remain in the pilot program to allow more time to collect data and be able to confirm that they can achieve consistent results. And secondly, we also recommend that other systems, Waterloo Biofilter and Lucy, to stay in the pilot program. And that is because we have considered the competition from other technologies, just the length of time involved. And right now, there hasn't been other technologies that have been identified to replace them. So we think that they deserve more time to allow for potential sales, perhaps at some point. But we may reconsider their participation in the pilot program if we identify other technologies that will be able to replace them in the future. And so there has been an important update that we may want to consider. So in April of this year, the DEP amended its rules to permit technologies that have received certifications from other organizations other than the NSF. So prior to this amendment, only technologies that have been certified to NSF 40 or NSF 245 are allowed to operate in New Jersey. So the ANSI, the American National Standards Institute, they issue accreditations to various organizations, including the NSF. And then those organizations go ahead and certify treatment technologies to standard 40 or standard 245. So it's not just the NSF that has this accreditation, there are other organizations. So what this amendment does is that it allows those technologies that have certifications from the NSF-like organizations to be able to operate in New Jersey. So what does that mean for the Pinelands Commission? Well, like I said, the pilot program is limited to technologies that have certification from the EPA ETB program or the NSF. So if we follow suit and also made an amendment, then that will increase the number of eligible technologies that can participate in the pilot program, because it wouldn't just be technologies with NSF 245 certification. It will be technologies with NSF like 245 certifications, if you will. And that can potentially increase options and also reduce costs. So that's just something to consider. And lastly, these are the next steps. So we'll continue to evaluate the pilot technologies. The next implementation report will be in November of 2027. And that is because the CMP requires that if there isn't sufficient data in 2025, that we come back in 2027. Now, if there still isn't sufficient data by that time, then we'll have to make a recommendation to make a CMP amendment that will expand the pilot program. So the recommendations will be due by November 5th of 2027, and then we'll proposal shortly after. So it's what will happen next. So that's all. So today we covered very quickly a very brief introduction to the pilot program, evaluation of the pilot technologies, and our recommendations and some updates that are relevant to the pilot program. So if you have any questions, then ask them now.
Claire, that was amazing. Excellent job. Thank you so much. Super informative and a lot to think about for sure. Anyone have any questions or comments?
Chair, I do.
Oh, hold up. We'll do
Go ahead first.
virtual Mark first, then.
Well, thank you. I'd like to start just by saying that, when Ed Wendrowski left us, I was afraid that we'd never find anyone again who'd ever be so well informed and so interested in this subject. So I'm very grateful that we found you, Claire, and thank you for this report. My question is just about the slide that spoke to how these installations are distributed among the 7 Pinelands counties. I noticed that Cape May and Gloucester County are very low, only 2%, and Cumberland County doesn't even show on the chart. Now, what would this indicate to us? Does that mean that there's fewer developments permitted there in these counties under 1 acre, or I don't know. What does this tell us?
So I can give you my theories, Mark. One is, I think Claire mentioned it too, the land areas in the Pinelands area in Cape May County, for example, also Camden and Gloucester, and certainly Cumberland, they don't have large portions of the county that are in the Pinelands area to begin with, so that cuts down opportunities. And I think also the reason you see so many more installations happening, particularly in Burlington County, most of those are in regional growth areas where there is no sewer service planned available. Whereas in other growth areas, like in Atlantic County, they're sewered. So they don't need, in their regional growth areas are provided with sewer. So you don't see the need for septic systems there. So there's sort of a number of things at play here, but definitely, particularly Burlington County. And I think in Ocean County, it's mostly occurring like in Whiting and areas of like a Pinelands town where their sewer hasn't been extended yet. They have a lot of existing 1 acre lots. So you're seeing systems being used there.
Okay, that's very interesting. Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Any other questions or comments? Oh, Mark, I said in real life, Mark was next. Sorry.
Just very briefly, Claire, excellent presentation. I think the point about achieving a certification at some point is so important as a regulatory agency. If we can provide that certainty to property owners, direct them to these systems early on, it saves time, saves money and aggravation and angst about what we do among the regular people. Very similar to mechanical treatment devices that are certified for stormwater management. It becomes very easy to just incorporate that into a design plan. You don't have to spend a lot of time. So hopefully at the goal line, we'll be able to achieve that. But, great work.
Jessica, thank you. Two really quick, yes, I agree, it was good, it was really good presentation, I read it, but you gave a much better, you gave a much better summation than I could have, even if I read it. Okay, so are we have a removal from the program and graduated from the program. Graduating, I assume means that they met the requirements, and now that's permitted.
Yeah.
On the units that have been removed from the program, what happens to those units in the ground and the property owners? Do they have to put another different one in, or do they just get a pass?
No, they don't have to. One of the initial fundamental tenets of the pilot program was that we were piloting these things, and if they were installed and turned out not to meet our expectations, the homeowner would not be penalized for that. So they're continuing to use the systems unless, of course, they stop functioning and they replace them, but we wouldn't know that because replacement of a septic system doesn't require an application to the commission. So it's possible that some have been changed. I mean, this has been going on for 20 some years, 25. So that's possible, but yeah, we don't go and require them to install these systems.
So that was my other question. Are these only put in with new developments, or are they used in retrofits for people whose septics are no longer functioning and they've got, like, I have a septic system that I consider functional, but I may have to go and, you know, eventually change it out to something, and I've got it on 1.4 acres, so where does that, it goes in a development that doesn't have, it's supposed to be, it's down as a sewer, potential sewer area, but it's not, and it's probably never gonna get it. We don't have any way of keeping track of the new versus retrofits, so that we know how well we're doing.
We, as I said, we don't require application, so we don't have that ability to track. I mean, I am aware of some where that's happened. Just anecdotally, I've heard from people that they, replace their septics with one of these advanced technologies. But, we don't have anything systematic in place to track that right now.
Does the health department track it?
Well,
The counties?
I would do so.
The county,
We'll have
records, right?
records of PDs, people say there's.
We like to do it for us.
Yeah, it's probably, I don't know that many homeowners are gonna voluntarily spend money to replace, an old standard septic system with one of these technologies. If there isn't somebody telling them they have to,
So there's no way of actually knowing if you are meeting these. A standard septic system can replace a standard septic system, regardless of whether it's actually meeting the.
They would not come here for an application, so we wouldn't, be asking them for sampling or monitoring results or any of that. So it would be something that the counties would have information about. But
I think the original concept was that even if one of the alternative systems failed, it would still meet the chapter 199 standards.
correct.
And it's.
Yeah. And that there is.
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
Gail, I know you've only been doing this for 11 months or so, but what do you think drives the homeowner or the applicant to choose a specific technology?
Yeah.
Is it price only, or is it salesmanship?
So, I mean, price is part of it. Like with the salesmanship, so the two pilot technologies right now, so there's Who's and FujiClean. So FujiClean is a pretty big company, they have a global presence, and Who's seems like a much smaller company from what I've seen, and so FujiClean, they're selling more, so they started, Food actually started way before FujiClean, but FujiClean is selling more systems and they're doing their thing, but Food only has like 4 systems installed and they have been in the program since 2011. So that's part of it. I don't know if because they don't have as many. So that's part of it, but also in terms of like the cost, right now Amphidrome has the highest cost and it's
I'm sorry, which one?
Amphidrome. And it has
original.
Yeah, and it has the second largest number of installations. So it could be that people know Amphidrome, so they're just more comfortable using it versus like other.
It could also mean that the applicant wants the installation in a timely manner, so.
The contractor who's building the house has a familiarity or experience with one company.
I really do think it's a large factor, cost, yes, but also just the homeowner hires their engineer, whoever it is, they're familiar with certain technologies, they know how to get them, they know the vendors. They know how to get through the process, they know, that's the familiarity, and then depending on who the homeowner hires. They work with certain vendors and technologies as opposed to others, and that I have to believe is a big factor.
So the homeowner's reliant on the engineer that he hires to
Well,
do that, or is there any other way to get information? What about?
I mean, they could do it themselves, like we just renovated our house, right, like I don't know anything about anything, so recommendations my contractor made about
Right.
items and systems for the house, so you know, if you're not familiar, you can always go out and do the research yourself and learn about them, but if someone's recommending something to me that they can vouch for and have experience, but
We have on our website, I have information, list of vendors, you know, the types of systems are there, so people can use that to contact them on their own if they want.
Is there any kind of money available to encourage a upgrading of
Not from the
septic
city
system?
system.
Anybody?
But that might be a nice, you know, opportunity for funding, but
Yeah.
it's not.
Or when the ad hoc committee was operating in the mid-2000s. DEP had actually, through the infrastructure trust, had actually been trying to get counties that were the health departments for their municipalities to operate grant programs for that very purpose. So the EIT at the time, EIT would have given money to the county, the health department to, it would be the, what would they call that, sponsoring entity, so they would take on the loan and grant requirements, and then they could have offered that kind of funding to homeowners who wanted to replace their septic systems. Not a single county in the entire state took them up on that offer. So it's just not, you know. Counties do block grants a lot, and I think you could have opted like those block grants for redevelopment kind of things, but, nobody wanted to touch that.
My response is what you crazy. I do have another question, the amended DEP rule, which allows some kind of, this kind of systems. That would all be outside the Pinelands unless it had gone through our pilot fund.
Yes,
So is it going to be able to be tracked how many of the new systems that just got benefited from the rule change are going to be installed and outside the Pinelands?
yeah, so those new technologies will not be allowed to be installed in the Pinelands.
No, I understand that,
Yeah.
but is there a way to find? If there were a number of these new technologies installed outside the Pinelands, would we be able to benefit? Somehow from the knowledge of the effectiveness of the system?
So I think if DEP decides to allow a new system, we can always work with their office that certifies those and find out if they are certifying any.
And it would still require a county board of health
Right.
Yeah.
permit.
So with the other advanced technologies Claire had mentioned at the outset, DEP issues a general permit, a blanket permit for them before they can be allowed to operate anywhere. And so I think if they're going to do, if they're gonna approve a new technology, they will similarly create a new general permit for those technologies, and then we would be aware of that.
So this rule change is relatively recent, and it hasn't really been.
April,
Yeah. Pretty recent.
Yeah. So anyway, it hasn't gotten to the implementation stage.
No, but no data, but the timing for us is actually pretty good. We're gonna continue piloting our systems for 2 more years. So maybe by then DEP will have some new systems and data that we can use if we decide that we want to eliminate some of the technologies from the pilot program because they haven't been installed, and we want to open up an opportunity for new systems to apply in a couple of years. Hopefully I think we're a little skeptical that we're gonna have enough data in 2 years,
Right.
2 more years, and if that happens, fine. commission will have to decide what you wanna do, if you wanna keep trying with these systems, if you wanna eliminate some, and try to include others. So there'll be some decisions, but hopefully at least a little bit more data.
Yeah, so many get with 48 points per year for each system, so.
2 years will go by quickly.
And Claire, thank you for your presentation, very informative.
Any other questions or comments for Claire? Okay, so I think we need to
Oh, yes,
take some action here to accept the recommendations and approve the 2-year.
yes,
When-
we don't need a formal resolution, but a motion and a vote to, extend the piloting of these technologies for 2 more years. And, have the staff come back in November 2027 with an updated implementation.
Okay, can I get a motion and a second, please, to accept the recommendations?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, great. Claire, thanks again. Really great stuff. Appreciate it. All right, general public comments. All of you can
Sure.
throw that number back up there.
Yes.
And is there anyone in the room who wanted to give public comments?
I look at me now.
I can't believe you were already standing, Jason.
Hey, Jason Howell, good morning, Pinelands Preservation Alliance. Really great work, everybody, just really nice to see the commission really running on full cylinders, so. Makes me feel good, so thank you. Also, yeah, really great news with the Black Run, seems like that's going in the right direction, don't wanna spike the football just yet, but that really seems like we're going in the right direction, that's good. One thing I just want to bring up again, just for everybody's awareness, is the next big forest that I think needs to really be looked at for preservation and maybe a target area, if you consider it, is Amatol in Mullica Township, bordering the Hamilton Wildlife Management Area. The big tricky issue there is that it was a former munitions facility. So there's a chance that there's some munitions still in the ground, unexploded munitions. So that is tricky with 3 acres.
You report back on that later.
Yeah. There's a report that DOD made, I think maybe 25 years ago, that says, yeah, it's possible there might be, but it'd be a pretty small area. So we'd have to get we'd have to get a contractor to go in and actually do the underground radar to look for those munitions, but it's about 1,900 acres altogether, so it's one of the few big forests left. It's not preserved, not developed, and it's not a cranberry or blueberry farm, so it's not many of those, white whales left out there, but that's one. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason. Anybody on the phone?
There are no callers.
Really? There was somebody who was trying to get in.
That's what it is.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right. And that's everybody in the room, nobody else in the room? So weird. If Black's on, nobody cares about us anymore.
Aw. We're out buying turkeys.
All right, so then before I'm gonna shut down public comment period, are there any commissioners who have any comments before we move to adjourn? Yes, good. Nobody else? All right, can I get a motion and a second to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? All right, thanks, everybody. Have a